Yeah, it's the Archivest, y'all.
The Archivest.
Exclusively interviewing Kutmasta Kurt.
Kutmasta Kurt in the building.
And who is...
on the blue couch.
The legendary Kutmasta Kurt.
If you don't know, now you know, like Biggie said. No, but basically, the Kutmasta Kurt is a guy with a big beard, some funky, fresh Cazal glasses. You know about Cazal glasses? These date back to about 87 when I picked these up. And these are vintage. I've had these the whole time. They're made in West Germany. If you want to check out the pamphlet here, this is all in German. I don't know if you can read it. But I've been carrying these around with me since 1987. I'm wearing these on the cover of one of my first projects, if not the first one, by Red, Black, and Green. You got to look it up if you want to find it. You'll see me standing there with these same glasses on. So these have been pretty much my trademark my whole career. And the beard is a new addition. This is actually a prosthetic beard, if you couldn't tell. My original beard was burnt off in an accident, and so now, you know how some people, if they get like a finger chopped off or a hand chopped off, they get like a bionic finger. This is my bionic beard. You know what I'm saying?
And working with Cool Keith for your career, how has this gone for you? And tell us about your trademark, the Mexican wrestling mask.
Well, basically, I had to stop wearing the wrestling mask for a couple reasons. One is too many other people started wearing them. In hip-hop, I know I was the first one in hip-hop to rock one. There were some other groups and other genres with the same style. I have a custom-made mask, though. Basically, when it became too saturated, I had to retire the mask. In addition to that, the other reason was because I had funding for my album from the Bank of Mexico, and the Bank of Mexico is a big supporter of Lucha Libre. So I was promoting Lucha Libre by wearing my mask on the record cover. And, well, the Bank of Mexico, those motherfuckers, they still owe me my money. They never paid me, so I ain't wearing that shit right now.
And let us know about your radio working and what you've done with Stanford University, etc.
Yeah, they call Stanford University, if you didn't know, they call it the farm. And that's a place where people like me like to hang out and tend to the crops. So I used to grow a lot of secret things over there on the side. I used to have my horticulture, and the radio station was over there. I would bring some of my horticulture to the station, and we'd be blazing up with all kinds of MCs came through back in the days that we had Nas and Redman, and even the Fugees came through, you know what I'm saying? Lauren was like really young, looking really good back then. And before she went crazy. Yeah, so we had a good time back at that station. We broke a lot of the Bay Area stuff, but even everyone from around the world came through. Gangstar, and there's a famous freestyle with Wu-Tang Clan. You can check the podcast on www.threshrex.com. That's THRESHRECS.com, and there's that podcast of me cutting with Wu-Tang Clan going crazy over some tracks. So I mean, there's a lot of history back at the farm. Gotta say big ups to Kevy Kev, one of the hosts of the station, and he's still doing it. He's still on that same show, The Drum, since 1984.
And some of your earlier remixes with Tim Dog, Twista, Mike Geronimo, and bigging up on your career. How did you come about putting in this work with these underground legends at this time?
Well, basically, I had been producing some records around the Bay Area, and I was like taking acapellas from records that I was liking and playing on the show and making my own remixes. So I used to solicit remixes randomly to people at the labels, and some of those remixes got picked up. I did one for Bushu Banton in 1993 for Vigilante. I did Mike Geronimo in 1994 for Shit's Real, but I think that was just called It's Real. Did a radio edit for Tim Dog's Fuck Compton, which is like pretty much an uneditable song, but I had a lot of fun with it. Put sound effects in instead. I heard some people copy that style right afterwards, so I don't know if I'm the originator. I hadn't heard anyone else do it, but since then I have heard a lot. But yeah, you know, it's just kind of fun to start off from a DJ and radio perspective, and then work with a lot of the artists who I was playing. That's like that was kind of like a goal of mine, and Cool Keith was one of those people too.
And compiling the landmark of Dr. Octagonologist, Sex Style, Black Elvis, First Come First Served, Matthew, Masters of Illusion, Diesel Truckers, Dr. Doom 2, all this creativity, where does it come from? And let us know the history from this and what it's done for you.
My whole goal in music was to try to make music that I like, that I want to hear. And so due to my fucked up taste in music, which is actually what I consider a good taste, and some people might agree. So these records that you're naming off are projects that I did for the love of hip hop and also for my own taste of like, what can I make that's going to sound dope, it's going to sound funky. And so that's basically my goal in making these records. And then at the same time, you know, I got to feed the farm. So I got the pigs, the cows, the chickens, and I'm trying to get a yak.
And the Californication tour with Red Hot Chili Peppers, 18 shows opening. How did this go, and what was the best part of it?
Oh, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are some cool dudes. It was kind of funny because we went to the first show of that run was at the Gorge in George, Washington, and said, hey, I'm a big fan. Thank you for coming on this tour. And I said, what? You're a fan of? How do you know about us? So that was pretty funny. But it was nice to open up to a whole new audience. There was definitely always at every show a core of people there who knew us and liked us. But then we got a chance to get about 20,000 new people to hear our music and hear what we were about and what we're doing. So big ups to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You may be fans of us, and I definitely got to say I'm a fan of y'all for putting us down and taking us on that tour.
And working with Motion Man, how was this classic joint project and the album Clearing the Field? How did this all go for you?
Well, Motion Man I actually been working with since like 92. And just a sneak preview for y'all, there's a unreleased project that's going to be coming out in 2011. It's going to be called Uneven Pavement. They're unreleased demos from the early days. So for all those out there who know like Mo Like Flows On, 93 Swing, this is like from that same era, recordings that were never released. And so we were working back then, and then when I met up with Kool Keith in 93 and 94, I put Motion down on the stuff we were doing, and that led obviously to Masters of Illusion. So my plan was to get Motion Man out there. He was an artist I believed in, and I knew actually since about 88. So we go way back, and I always liked his styles and his flows and wanted the world to hear him. So finally in 2002 we dropped Clear in the Field. 2006 we dropped Pablito Sway, and we got some new stuff coming up and some old stuff coming up.
And Cali Calm, another classic underground tour. Share your thoughts.
Well, Cali Calm was an interesting thing. I got a call, and basically I was called to be a DJ on a tour, to, I guess, play in between the groups and kind of hype up the crowd. And at that time, this was 2001, I was had just released Masters of Illusion a year before, or a little less than a year before, and also I was finishing up Motion Man solo album. So I said, hey, can I bring an MC with me? I want to bring Motion on the road at least. So I got Motion on the road. It was us opening up the whole thing, and then I was DJing the whole deal. Rasco and Planet Asia, who I wound up DJing for, and then The Far Side and Souls of Mischief. So it was quite a rowdy and fun time. We drove around the whole United States, came up here to Canada, played the Commodore in Vancouver. I'm trying to think if we hit any other cities. I don't think we did. At any rate, it was definitely a great time. It was fun to see like a whole crew of people who I knew and respected and worked with throughout the days, and it was a lot of fun. And then we did 2002 also. We came back, me and Motion Man, after Motion's album had came out, Clearing the Field, and it was a lot of fun.
And Work the Angles featuring Dilated Peoples, a real big hit for your resume. Let us know about this, as well as Linkin Park In the End remix.
The song Work the Angles was basically about 97, 98. I had been running my studio operations. I was building up my equipment, practicing my mixing skills, and building my production up with Kool Keith and Motion. But at the same time, I had like Defari and all the people in LA at some point came through my studio, and Dilated was one of those people who had been working in my studio in Evidence. And they said, hey Kurt, if you got any tracks, we're looking for some new stuff. They had put out a single prior to Work the Angles, but once Work the Angles came out, it really took them to another level, and also gave me a lot of light, which was cool. So that was a great song I'm proud of, and I still play out DJ sets and stuff like that. People still react to it. It's funny because now people think that's old school, but for me, I'm thinking it's kind of like the middle of my career. But at any rate, back in 2001 or 2, I can't remember, it's getting a little foggy, I got approached by Linkin Park to do a remix, but they didn't actually say what song. They gave me their CD and said, hey, you want to do a remix? We're a fan of your work. So I picked out this song called In the End. They said, oh, that's our next single. It's a good pick. And I did the remix, but from what they told me, when they heard my remix, they got the idea like, hey, why don't we do a whole album of remixes? So it actually took maybe another year after I did it till it came out. But they said it, according to Mike and the guys, they said that my remix had kind of like set the standard for what the other people they got involved with the project for Reanimation to do. So I just got to say what's up to those guys. They might be like big rock stars. Some people might think their music is a little too pop or corny or whatever, but out of all the big musicians that I've known in this business, these guys are definitely the coolest, realest guys who know. And big ups to Mike Shinoda, Joe Hahn, and the rest of the crew.
And Redneck Olympics, Redneck Games in the USA.
Yes, the Redneck Olympics was just kind of like a compilation of all this stuff. I mean, in some ways people know the name Kutmasta Kurt, they've heard the music, but I had to like kind of tie it in and put it all together in one package. It's like, yo, this is Kutmasta Kurt. This is what I do. So, you know, it's kind of like sometimes people think that they hear a song, for instance, by Planet Asia, they think it's Planet Asia. They don't know Kutmasta Kurt actually is the one who made the track. So sometimes you got to go out there and let people know what's up. So that was just kind of like me throwing it out there. It came out in Korea, it came out in Australia, it came out in Canada, it came out in USA, it came out in Italy with a bonus disc with an Italian rap on it. It came out in the UK, and it also came out in Germany with some German rap. So there's like 7 versions. You got to collect all 7 versions. If you're a real fan, you got to get all 7 of them.
And One Time for Your Mind featuring Gifted Gab from Black Alicious, and the album Pablito Sway featuring Too Short, DJ Qbert, and Cool Keith. That is pretty dope. Let us know.
Yeah, well, basically, I mean, the Pablito Sway was a little bit of a change of direction from Clearing the Field, but it was a fun type of project. It was like, you know, Pablito's Way, we're out in hot tubs in the valley with porno chicks, and, you know, with the salsa Mexican style breaks behind it. And Gifted Gab we brought in, and we shot the video for One Time for Your Mind, a real like up-tempo party track. It got a lot of love from MTVU. It was just a fun new kind of project. You can't, as an artist, you can't keep repeating yourself. You got to come up with new ideas and bring new concepts to the table. So that's kind of where we went with Pablito's Way, and some people got it, and I think a lot of people slept on it. So for those of y'all sleeping, wake the fuck up.
And the Big Day Out Festival with Bjork and Rage Against the Machine in Australia. Tell us more about that.
The Big Day Out Festival is basically starts in New Zealand and hits, I think, 5 of the major cities in Australia. And we got invited to go on that tour, and it was a lot of fun, man. I think it was. I remember seeing Zach De La Roca in the airport in New Zealand, and there's a little clip of it in YouTube World. You can check it out. It's kind of funny because I had worked with Zach real briefly recording some vocals on the project, and when I saw him, he remembered that. So I'd seen him around a couple times since, but it's just interesting to be a hip hop act, but also be in the company of groups of that caliber and those kinds of styles, because I think the stuff that we've put on the table is not necessarily so limited of an audience. I mean, it can appeal to a wider group of people and around different parts and areas of the world, you know. So I got to give thanks to the Big Day Out Festival and Duck Pond and Trent, and just big ups Australia. That's a rowdy place.
And some of your other remixes that you've done: Deliver with Chino XL, Pure Heat for 96, Golden Age, Take It Back Home featuring Cali Agents, Boston's Rest in Peace with 7 Ounce Esoteric, PMD Straight from the Heart, and Master Ace and Body Movin' with the Beastie Boys. That is so amazing. Let us know.
You know, I remember I did an interview with, I think it was with Chris Moratko, and he was asking me about the Body Movin' mix, and he asked me if I got to do yoga with the Beastie Boys. You know, actually I probably would have, just to say I did it, but I didn't actually work with them that closely on the remix. I got the vocals, I put them in my system and made the track. But that's kind of like, you know, people having an idea of what production or remixes is. Sometimes you know the people, you've met them. Like there's a featurette that me and Mike D and Tick did for an MPC tutorial on grandroyal.com, or you could find that. So I know the guy, but I didn't really like get in the studio with the Beasties and do yoga moves and stuff. but I would have. And like Planet Asia, he's down with Rasco, so I met him through Rasco, and like I said, DJ with him on the Cali Calm tour. So we put down that joint right there, which I think made a lot of noise.
And Boston's Rest in
7L and Esoteric.
Some of my all-time favorites.
Yeah,
there.
I know. Big ups to 7L and Esoteric. I know these guys from back in the days. I mean, like, you know, you meet people here and there through hip-hop, and then you connect, and sometimes you forget. But these guys, we kept in touch over the years. And so I had a good opportunity to do a track with them on their album. PMD, a friend of mine had a label that was putting out their record, and I sent PMD a track with CD with like 10 or 20 tracks. And he called me and he's like, "Hey man, these tracks are all dope. Which ones? I don't know which one to use. Which one do you think I should use?" So I said, "Use track 11 or whichever one it was." He's like, "Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about." I don't know if he was just bullshitting, but anyway, he left me. If you catch the Redneck Olympics album, he left me a funny message because I sent him an invoice and I put on there, "Thank you for your business, Parrish Smith, aka DJ Easy P." And only like a few people probably know that Parrish Smith used to be a DJ for a group called the Rock Squad, which was on Tommy Boy Records, and he went by the name of DJ Easy P. So I kind of blew his mind. I don't think a lot of people know that. That's a little bit of hip-hop trivia for you. And with Master Ace and Strickland, I wound up working with them through some dudes in Sweden named Create, some DJs, Create, Devastate. They had a single they brought to me that they put together with Master Ace and Strickland, asked me to do a remix. So I flipped that, put that out on Threshold. That's Threshold Recordings. My label is like basically an imprint of things that I'm feeling and I want to do. I don't put out necessarily a lot of stuff through the label, but at times it gets more busier and other times it's slower. The newest joints right now, the Funky Redneck Visits Nippon. It's like all just cut up chops and samples from records I picked up in Japan. And it's a limited edition, only 200 copies pressed on white vinyl, autographed. So if you're able to get your hands on that, you're one of the lucky few. And I got a new series coming out called Drum Break Hip Hop, Volume 1, 2, and 3. I'm doing Volume 1. My man, DJ Imperial, he's sort of unknown, but he's going to become more known. He's one of my OGs from back in the day. He's doing Volume 2. And my boy Tom C3, he produced Project Polaroid with Kool Keith, Saga, the Simian Samurai. He's doing Volume 3, and we'll see where it goes from there. So basically, we're bringing back the b-boy element and the breaks of hip-hop, the origins of hip-hop, but you're not going to hear the recycled samples that you've already heard from so many times over and over again. We're bringing out some more unknown and newer, I don't want to say newer music, but just newer sounds. So we're pushing the element of the breaks and the backbone of hip-hop, what really is the foundation of hip-hop. We're putting that back out for the people to enjoy and get back to the basics.
And a frequent guest being on the Wake Up Show, remarkable. What was the best about this with Sway and Tech?
Well, Sway and Tech actually got a lot of pointers on how to do a hip-hop radio show from listening to our show, The Drum, at Stanford, and they always gave a lot of respect and basically respect, and invited us to come up to their shows. So I was often a guest on their shows, DJing and doing different things. And I think probably the best or most well-known moment was when I battled Pete Rock, and we did like they had Molly Mall hooked up in one studio, and I was hooked up in the other there in New York, and I was hooked up in LA on that studio, and we had an ISDN line. So Pete Rock would play a break or two, and then I would go back and play a break. So you can look for that. It's not impossible to find, but it was a lot of fun. Big ups to Sway and Tech.
For sure. And compiling your beats, what inspires your hip-hop music, and what does it need to be approved by Kutmasta Kurt?
I think the things that the producers or the era that inspires my music is basically the 86 era, because 86 was the year that sampling really started. And then I started digging for records shortly after that. Once I discovered how the records were being made by sampling, I started going out and digging. Started with Ultimate Breaks and Beats, and then trying to find the original albums of Ultimate Breaks and Beats came on, and then realizing CTI had a lot of dope stuff, so I'd get stuff on CTI, and it just kind of led from there. And then so I think that's kind of like the basis of my production, and to have something approved, to let it out, it's kind of just has to fit in. I have a strict criteria of what's gonna get out there, and it's gonna bang, it's gonna be funky, and it's gonna make you say yeehaw.
And what is the biggest crowd that you've rocked?
The biggest crowd, geez.
On any tour that you've been a part of, or with any acts?
It would probably have been with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like 20,000 or something like that. But it's hard to say exactly. That's the one that comes to mind right now. I mean, it was a whole tour, so something along those lines. But in the smallest crowd, I remember we did a show in London, UK. I can't remember the name of the club right now, but it was basically a basement. And there was maybe 50 to 75 people. But the promoter of the club did that on purpose. I was kind of like, why is this party so small? And he said, well, this was a special show, invite only, exclusive, like up close personal show where they charged a lot of money for the tickets, like a higher price, and it was an opportunity for people to get a close interaction with us. So that was kind of like the opposite of that, but in a sort of exclusive invite only kind of situation in London.
And what is the biggest piece of hip-hop history that you've made so far?
Musically speaking?
Yes.
Perhaps Sex Style. It's hard to say. Dr. Octagon. I mean, basically, I don't know if you know or it's out there well enough, but I keep trying to get the information out there. The Dr. Octagon is not Dan the Automator's creation. It's something that he continued after I myself, Menelik, and Cool Keith created. So just to get the story straight for the millionth time, I'm one of the creators, along with Menelik and Cool Keith, of Dr. Octagon. So that's another thing that people need to know.
And what is the most units that you guys have sold record-wise?
I mean, like, if you count something like Linkin Park, that sold 2 million at least. I think 2 million in the USA, worldwide maybe. But as far as like our own records, just under our own names, it's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say, but hundreds of thousands probably.
For sure. And what is your best hip-hop memory that you've been part of or contributed to?
Wow, that's a tough one. It's really like there's too many good memories, too many good times between touring and hanging out in the studio with people and all that kind of good stuff. Parties, I mean, hanging out with people like Snoop Dogg and Rage and Warren G at big mansion parties in Bel Air.
Very nice.
Being up at MC Hammer's house with Eric B. and Cool G Rap.
Wow. MC
Hammer caught me peeing in his bushes. It's a real story. 1994. Cool Keith was with me.
Very nice.
He was there. My boy Scotty Z was there. Casio, Imperial, Jason D. My boys, I'll tell you. I was peeing in Hammer's bushes and he caught me.
And how do you feel about hip-hop today and what needs to change?
I mean, the only thing about hip-hop today is that it's just, I mean, it started happening in the 90s, and definitely now it's just too much focus on one style or whatever the current hot style is. So what happens is the people who are making this style and not that style, if they're not making whatever the current style is, they kind of get shut out, or it's harder for them to get exposure or get heard. So the people who are calling the shots generally are not really from a hip-hop background. They don't understand the music. They're just exploiters who are trying to get a check from a company to sell advertising or whatever. But what they don't realize is radio in particular, but also clubs and DJs in general, they break music and they also create a demand for music. So if you constantly sell out to what you think is going to be popular in a certain sound and style, that only contributes to it worse. If you were going to come out the box and start dropping some new shit, I don't know, like Rushton and Diamonds, for instance, if you're going to drop something new that people haven't heard and get behind it and play it, people will get into it and they'll start feeling it too. So I think DJs and people are semi-brainwashed and scared of going out of the pocket. And so that's basically why hip-hop has kind of suffered and only a couple styles are getting most of the attention right now.
And working with Canada's Rushton and Diamonds, let us know about the project that you were a part of.
So basically, I did some scratches and mixed some of the tracks, and yeah, man, I've been down with these cats. I've been down with hip hop in Canada for a long time. I know Jay Swing from like 95, 96, sending in my records. I know Degree One up in Victoria. I got to say what's up to DJ Weasel, who brought me out on this tour from Jasper. And yeah, so I mean, I've been checking for Canada hip hop back since Maestro Fresh West and Mishi Me, and even Jackie Jasper, who was on the Dr. Doom album and been on some of our other projects. He's a Canadian. He originally went by the name of HDV. So I mean, Canada's definitely put a lot down for hip hop and continues to. I remember knowing Mad Child and Flip Out when they were What the Hell in the Bay Area back in like 91. I was like, where are you guys from? From Vancouver? Oh shit. And these guys were down, man. They were like sleeping in their van in San Francisco, working at the Bomb Hip Hop Shop, doing whatever they could to put out some music. So, I mean, I wound up running into them many years later and stuff, and I definitely recognize what they've done for Canadian hip hop as well. So.
And you have anything to say to Canada?
The only other thing I have to say to Canada is yeehaw!
And you got any shouts?
Big ups to the Archivest, or as we would say in America, the Archivest. And also big ups to DJ Weasel, Rushton and Diamonds, and yeah, say what's up to Jay Swing, Degree One, and the rest of the crew. And forgot you, I apologize.
And shouts to Days In for our awesome interview here. And this is the Archivist, and you already know the name, y'all.
Peace.